Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings of peace, mercy, and blessings. Welcome to another science-mazing adventure where the search for the truth continues. Hang on tight, for we will answer your what, why, and how questions. Let us discover the beauty of the world together. For in the great minds of young scientists like you, learning never stops. Let me take you where your imaginations will allow you to go. This is your science teacher, Teacher Aina, your guide in exploring and discovering the world of science for. A scientific morning, my dear young scientists. As you already know in the previous episode, we have learned about the effects of environment on the life cycle of organisms. For our today's episode, we shall learn on the beneficial interactions among living things. Get ready, young scientists. Prepare your PPS, pen, paper, and self-learning module, for you will be using them in our science adventure. Living things interact in the environment based on their functions and roles. Interactions between one organism to another organism may bring either good or bad effect. There are interactions that both organisms benefit from, meaning they help each other to live. There is also a form of interaction that only one kind of organism is benefiting, while the other is neither getting benefits nor getting harmful effects from. For our lesson today, we shall focus on the beneficial interactions among living things. These two interactions are mutualism and commensalism. Do you want to know about mutualism and commensalism, young scientists? Great! So get ready and focus yourselves on our episode for today, because rewards are waiting for you if you do well in our different activities. Are you ready? Yes, I know you are! Young scientists, before we proceed to our next lesson today, let us recall our previous episode. Look who's here! We have our dear friend, Tech Machino. Hello, Tech Machino. Could you bring us back to our previous lesson? Young scientists, for today's lesson, we learned the effects of our environment on the life cycle of organisms. The environment is composed of biotic and abiotic factors. Biotic factors are those things which have life, while abiotic factors are those things which have no life. The interaction of these two factors has a major impact on the development of an organism. These interactions happen in the ecosystem. Our environment is important for us to grow and to perform our roles based on the species we belong to. With these factors, air, sunlight, water, space, and climate change, animals and plants survive. Wow! That's wonderful! Thank you so much, Tech Machino. Young scientists, let's answer this first activity in order to get our minds ready for our lesson today.
Directions. Study the picture on the screen and tell if the living things shown are having benefits or not in their interactions. Write benefit if the living things benefit from their interaction and not if the living things do not benefit. Write your answers on your science activity notebook.
Young scientists, are you ready to answer now? Let's start doing the activity.
Picture A, the interaction between the flower and the bee. Is the flower benefiting from each interaction with the bee or not? Is the bee benefiting from its interaction with the flower or not? Picture B, the interaction between the tree and the orchid plant. Is the tree benefiting from its interaction with an orchid or not? Is the orchid plant benefiting from its interaction with the tree or not?
Let's see if you got the correct answers.
Number 1. The interaction between the flower and the bee. Is the flower benefiting from its interaction with the bee or not? That's right! Generally, flowers are benefiting from bees. Flowers rely on bees for the cross-pollination of their female plants. Do bees benefit from their interaction with flowers? Correct! Bees benefit from flowers. Bees rely on the nectar of flowers for food. Number 2. The interaction between the tree and the orchid. Do trees benefit from their interaction with orchid plants? Very good! The trees do not benefit. Likewise, trees are not harmed by orchids. Do orchid plants benefit from their interaction with trees? That's correct! The orchid plants benefit with their interaction with trees. The orchids attach themselves to the trunk of trees. They use the trees' trunks for exposure to get enough sunlight.
So, how do you find our first activity? Do you find it easy, young scientists? I'm sure you do. I know that you always do some research ahead of time. That's a real young scientist. Oh, here's our dear friend, our hardworking laboratory assistant, Asi. Hello, Asi. What do you have for our young scientist today?
Hello, Teacher Aina. Hello, young scientist. Now it's time to reveal your reward. An Einstein badge for you, young scientist, for a job well done.
There you go, young scientists. Don't ever get tired of performing well in our activities to collect more scientist badges. My dear young scientists, today we shall learn about mutualism and commensalism, the two beneficial interactions among living things. First, let us learn about mutualism.
Mutualism refers to an interaction of two organisms wherein both are getting benefits from each other. From our activity a while ago, we showed the interaction between flowers and bees. Flowers benefit from bees because flowers rely on bees for the cross-pollination of their female plants. On the other hand, bees also benefit from flowers. Bees rely on flowers for food.
From this interaction, we can say that both organisms benefit from each other. Hence, this is an example of mutualism. Young scientists, can you give me another example of mutualism?
Great! The interaction between plants and animals shows mutualism. Plants give off oxygen needed by animals while animals exhale carbon dioxide needed by plants. There is mutual benefits between these organisms.
Now, let's learn about commensalism.
Commensalism is an interaction between organisms in which one is benefiting while the other has never been affected, neither beneficially nor harmfully. From our activity, we saw the interaction between the tree and the orchid plant. The interaction between them is one of the examples of commensalism. The orchid benefits from the tree, however, the tree is neither benefited nor harmed.
Young scientists, it's your turn to give me an example of commensalism. Can you give me another example of commensalism?
Very good. A nesting bird on a tree. The bird benefits from the tree because it uses the tree as its shelter. However, the tree is neither benefited nor harmed.
Wow! What a wonderful creation of God for us! So, my dear young scientists, you already know the beneficial effects of mutualism and commensalism to living things. These are the two vital interactions between two kinds of organisms in the ecosystem. Both are very essential relationships in keeping a balanced environment. Young scientists, this is now your time to shine. Acquaint yourself with the living organisms in our environment by answering the activity entitled Know Me Better.
Directions. Examine the pictures below. Tell the name of the organisms. Write the relationship that exists between organisms. Do this in your science activity notebook.
I will give you 15 seconds to examine the pictures. Your time is up. Let's see if you are able to give the correct answers.
Number 1. What are the two organisms in the first picture? What relationship exists between the given organisms? Very good, young scientists. The two organisms in the first picture are the flower and the bee. The relationship that exists between these organisms is mutualism because both organisms are benefiting from each other. Number 2. What are the two organisms in the second picture? What kind of relationship exists between these organisms? That's right! The two organisms in the second picture are the aquatic plants and the fishes. The relationship that exists between these organisms is mutualism because both organisms are benefiting from each other in terms of the exchange of gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide. Number 3. What about in the third picture? What are the organisms that can be found in it? What kind of relationship exists between these organisms? Correct! The organisms that are found in the third picture are the tree and orchid plants. The relationship that exists between them is commensalism. Young scientists, it is commensalism because only the orchid plant is benefiting from the trunk of tree while the tree is neither benefited nor harmed. Number 4. In the last picture, what are the organisms found in it? What kind of relationship exists between organisms? Exactly! The organisms in the last picture are the branch of a plant and the bird. The relationship that exists between the organisms is commensalism.
Wow! 2 thumbs up for our future young scientists for your great answers. You make me proud of you. That is such a very good performance. So, now, it's time to call our laboratory assistant, Asi.
Hello, Teacher Aina. Hello, young scientist. Because you make Teacher Aina proud of your performance, your reward is an Edison badge.
Young scientists, always do your work diligently so that you will have more scientist badges to collect. In order to deepen your understanding, let's have another activity. This is entitled, The More, the Better.
Directions. In the table below are pairs of organisms in a relationship. Write the name of organism under plus sign column if benefited and under the minus sign column if not benefited nor harmed. Do this in your science activity notebook.
Young scientists, are you ready for our next activity? Be sure to do it correctly. Badges are waiting for your great performance. For this activity, you are given 15 seconds to study the chart. Your time is up. Let's check if you can correctly identify which organism is benefited or not in each pair of organisms in a relationship.
Number 1. The butterfly and flowers. Which organism is benefited and which one is neither benefited nor harmed? That's right. Both organisms are benefited by each other. So, we will write butterfly and flower under the plus sign column. Number 2. The orchid plant and a tree. Which organisms is benefited and which one is neither benefited nor harmed? Very good, young scientists. The orchid plant is the one that is benefited, so it will be written under the plus sign column, while the tree is neither benefited nor harmed, so it will be written under minus sign column. Number 3. The fish and aquatic plant relationship. Which one is benefited and which is neither benefited nor harmed in this pair of organisms? Absolutely correct, because both organisms are benefiting from this relationship. Therefore, both names of organisms will be written under plus sign column. Number 4. The bird on a tree relationship. Can you identify which organisms is benefited and which one is not? Great answer! Yes, the bird in its nest is the benefited organism, while the tree is not benefited nor harmed anyway. It serves as a host for shelter and a support to the bird's nest. So, the bird and its nest shall be written under the plus sign column and the tree shall be written under the minus sign column. Number 5. The bees and flowers relationship. Which between the two organisms are benefited and which are not benefited nor harmed? Very good. Both the bees and flowers are benefited in this kind of relationship. They help each other to live and survive. Therefore, bees and flowers shall be written under the plus sign column.
Young scientists, did you get all the correct answers? Were you able to place all the concepts in their proper column? That's right. I know you did because you are my bright young scientists. Assie, what do you have for them for performing this activity well?
Young scientist, your reward is an Einstein badge.
Wow! Another Einstein badge! Good job, young scientists! Keep it up! Young scientists, for today's lesson, we have learned some types of beneficial interactions among living things in their environment. The following are the types of beneficial interactions or relationships between two kinds of living things in an ecosystem.
It is a type of interaction of two organisms wherein both organisms are getting benefits from each other. An example is the lichen. A lichen consists of fungus that grows together with the algae. The photosynthesizing algae provide the food for the fungus while the algae get a place to live. Commensalism. It is a type of interaction between organisms by which one is benefited while the other one is never affected, neither beneficially nor harmfully. The best example for this is the gobby fish. A gobby fish live on other sea animals, changing color to blend in with host and is protected from predators.
Very good, young scientists. Keep up the good work always. Moving on to the next part of our learning journey. Young scientists, are you ready for our assessment? I know you are all ready, so let's start. Choose the letter of the correct answer and write it on a piece of paper.
Number 1. It is an interaction of two organisms wherein both benefit from each other. A. Commensalism. B. Mutualism. C. Relationship. D. Ecosystem. The correct answer is letter B. Mutualism. Number 2. Which one of the following pairs of living things shows that only one is benefited and the other organism is neither benefited nor harmed? A. Orchids and tree. B. Flower and bee. C. Fish and plant. D. Cat and rat. The correct answer is letter A. Orchids and tree. Number 3. It is a type of interaction between two organisms in which one organism is benefited while the other one is neither benefited nor harmed. A. Mutualism. B. Parasitism. C. Commensalism. D. Ecosystem. The correct answer is letter C. Commensalism. Number 4. Which pair of organisms shows mutualism wherein both organisms benefit from each other's interaction? A. Flower and bee. B. Oysters or mangroves. C. Orchids and tree. D. Rose plant and aphids. The correct answer is letter A. Flower and bee. Number 5. When do we say that an interaction of organisms is beneficial? A. When one organism is benefited while the other one is harmed. B. When both organisms are not benefited but are harmed. C. When both organisms compete for food, water, and space. D. When both organisms benefit from each other's relationship. The correct answer is letter D. When both organisms benefit from each other's relationship.
Great job, young scientists! You got all the correct answers. That is because you gave your 100% of your attention in our science class episode today. Before we end today's episode, let's have a recount of your Scientist Badges Awards. Asi, how many Scientist Badges have they earned today?
Teacher Aina, our young scientists have 2 Einstein badges, 1 Edison badge, and 1 Aristotle badge. Congratulations, young scientists!
Good job, young scientists! You really make me happy. Keep up the good work and collect more badges on our next episode. That's all for today, young scientists. I hope we had answered your what, why, and how questions. For in the great minds of young scientists like you, learning never stops. Follow where your imaginations allow you to go. Once again, this is your science teacher, Teacher Aina. Remember, science is full of discoveries. Continue to search for the truth. Don't forget to follow our official social media accounts so you can watch your lessons anytime, anywhere. Hit like, share, and subscribe. Wassalam!